and then we'll have like just chatting for when we're actually chatting. Okay. All right. So streaming, and then let me see if also, like I mentioned before, Ace, if you could just kind of periodically just check in to see if everything is on the up and up.
Yep.
Every day my life up and up is hard for me to get mad. Okay, nice. So that's ready. So I guess I'll start recording. Let me take one more last sipping. Okay, recording in 3, 2, 1. All right, live recording. Let's do this. Okay. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, everyone, to the Be Warmed and Be Filled podcast. We're back. We're back. And we got everyone here. We got the bros, the guys, the family. We got Ace.
So
We got Wes.
Wait.
We got Ghost.
Good.
And we got myself, Questlando. Guys, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
Feeling all right?
pretty good.
Decent.
Yeah, I'm feeling not too bad myself. At time of recording, summer is pretty much here in full effect. I don't know if it's like technically like a season right now, but it definitely seems as if like it's super, depending on your place where you reside. There's been like a lot of rain and kind of mugginess, but weather aside, I think it's been pretty decent. And it's also like graduation season, so everyone's like posting their thing. I don't know if you guys have been peeping like some of these videos of like these kids are like doing shenanigans on stage, and people are like not getting their degree diplomas handed to them. Oh man!
That's
I've
hilarious.
not seen that.
Basically, if I don't know if this is some TMI, but if you had pulled that stunt that you did in some of these videos, they would have been like, "No, you got it." I don't even know if they let you walk again. I think they just say, "No, you can't get it."
Mm.
For those who don't know that story, you want to just give the TLDR.
Yeah. I mean, I did a backflip when I got my high school diploma. Backflip off the stage. I think I got didn't. Oh no, I don't think I got the diploma before I did the backflip. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
they
you had it
couldn't
in so
deny
you had it
me.
in hand.
Hmm?
So you had it in hand.
No, I don't think I did. So
Oh, got
yeah,
you.
I think like you're saying, they could have denied me.
Fair enough. I also saw this. Maybe without the clip, it's not even worth bringing up. But I think somebody had like a long, quote unquote, a long name, and they didn't say their whole name, and then they got pissed. There's been a lot of shenanigans going on at these graduations. The moral of the story. But salute to everyone that's graduating or graduated. Before we get into the topics, do we have any content recommendations outside of music, of course?
Um, I don't know how you want to do this, Ghost.
I'm. I don't even want to talk about. Honestly, it's just gonna put me in a bad mood. So just give your recommendation. We'll be doing.
All right, I'll make it quick. I'll just say I started playing Street Fighter 6 and I'm really enjoying it. It's taking me
Like
back.
everyone else is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's taking me back to when I got into Street Fighter 4. There's a lot of content again. It's a really good time. I'm thinking it might be end up being one of the maybe the best Street Fighter out of the series,
What do you mean
but
out
yeah,
of the series?
out of the series of Street Fighters.
You mean so like out of the franchise?
Yeah, yeah.
It's better than Third Strike? This is not a video game podcast.
I think so. I mean, Street Fighter 4 is my favorite, and there's still a lot of things that I like about 4, but the way Street Fighter 6 brings together a lot of the mechanics from all of the past games and puts it into a very balanced system, like it's it's hard to top. Time will tell the story, but I think for now, uh, it does seem like it could take that spot.
Dang, that's some big words and assumptions. Okay, so you've been enjoying Street Fighter. That's cool. That's dope.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Um, I did have something. Although it's not even like a content recommendation. I don't even know if I should really mention this, but I don't know. I've been enjoying this. Um, so maybe it's just something that I bumped into that I realized I can enjoy. So I'm on record, or if you know me, you know I love cereal. Um, and even more so, I'm on record that whether you like it or not, like Fruit Loops is like the one of the best cereals ever. I just don't eat it because it has a bunch of butt hash in it, and I quote unquote try to don't eat too many cruddy things. But I saw this post one day that like as you may or may not know, the eating standards and guidelines in different countries are way different than the United States. In the States, you can basically feed somebody like uh, blended up pig foot and it's cool. But in other places around the world, they have like pretty or fairly way stricter. Like you can't put some of these ingredients and colors and things in foods. So I put two and two together, and I picked up a box of Canadian Fruit Loops, which doesn't have like any of that, or not any. It has some of the stuff that that's again not even legal in other places, and that has been one of the smartest moves I've made in a while. TLDR: if you are ever craving something, but you have a bit of hesitancy because you don't want like to put some cruddy thing in your body, see if there's a international version of it, because it may or may not be better.
It's a game.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
But yeah, that's just my quick thing of the week. Oh, but I digress. If there's nothing, and also speaking of content, during every podcast we do our song selection of the week, or whatever we call it, which we listen to at the end. But the playlist that has all the songs, as well as a description, as well as the list of all the songs, will be in the description below. But if there is nothing else that's worth mentioning, I guess we can jump right into the topics. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to just post some things. Okay. I'll get the last one in a second. So let me go here. Let me pull up the stream. Here are the streaming names. Yes. And then I'm assuming I can just go straight to here. Here we are. Disregard that thing at the top. Do you guys did you guys do this like Discord update your username thing?
No, not yet.
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't.
Was it easy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was deceptively easy. Like I don't even know if I made a change.
Okay.
It was weird.
Well, I guess a heads up. You gotta do it. You gotta do it eventually if you haven't out there and you're a Discord user. Anyway, so starting off nice, light, hopefully quick. Is interesting. There's always, it's interesting. They say like when like you can tell like the state of the world depending on like the things that people are going back and forth about, and maybe this is an indicator of that. So, what's the chat room? People on social media debate whether or not you should wear deodorant to bed. So somebody posted quite simply, or somebody, and when I say somebody, at 2 charms with 2 S's and 2 underscores, posted a quick question. Y'all wear deodorant to bed? Not even a do. Just y'all. And then we got everybody's we got everyone's experience with this type of thing. I feel like they currently on Black Twitter. I guess you can kind of scroll through some of the responses. No, I shower before bed, and when I wake up. Yes, and perfume. Pretty sure smelling it while you sleep makes you sleep better. What the heck? We're already getting into some interesting takes. Okay. Definitely not. Please let your skin breathe. Okay. We got maybe a dermatologist in the house. Or is that just hair? Is dermatologist skin and hair, or is it just hair?
Skin.
Oh, nice. Of course, laughing my ass off, sweating, etc. while sleeping is definitely a thing. They are correct. People do sweat during their sleep. What else people saying? And you need to go to the doctor if you do. Okay,
If you
so
put
it's
the
a
deodorant on,
okay. So apparently this is a medical concern. Okay. But I ain't wake up musty. Folks need to get their hormone level checked. Okay, all right. Now we're digging into people's biology. I put deodorant on whenever I get out of the shower. So yes, okay, that's a nice basic clean take. If I'm sleeping alone, no. If I'm sleeping with a woman, yes. Okay, so this is a guy posting. He's being very honest. I respect the honesty. And last but not least, since we're going through everything, I haven't worn deodorant since 2020, and it's the best thing for my vibration.
Hell,
Well, I literally never heard of. Actually, you know what? Depending on the deodorant you might be vibrating more than the average human, but that's neither.
no, there's a lot of people that are on that. That's not
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that
it's
stink.
not uncommon.
Yes, I
No,
know.
no.
We bump into them, depending on where you live on a daily basis.
People who stop and apparently don't stink, but
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like I heard about that recently.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and people that I know don't stink, which is
I know
why.
Asian people are not. I think their bodily
Oh.
functions do not
Jesus,
smell.
Jesus.
That's verified.
We are.
Like, that's an actual thing.
I think you're. I think you're.
The crazy
I
thing,
think
he's
you're
absolutely
inflating it a little bit. No,
he's
I
absolutely
think
positively right. But nobody need to go into.
it's not. But it's not.
specifics
It's not
like
all
that.
bodily functions. I think it's
One thing, yes,
a
obviously
gene.
not all.
I think it's
but
a gene in a certain part of Asia, maybe Korea or something like that. But yeah, that is true. It is true. Or yeah, scientifically proven, whatever.
I guess even here, respectively, we might have some interesting takes on when it comes to hygiene. But yeah, you guys have seen these interesting perspectives and takes on this subject. So I guess just real quick, I always like to run a Vice podcast. So what are y'all strats for before bed hygiene? Are you pro putting on deodorant, and do you have any other? Do you like do a whole routine of making sure you're straight and smelling and being more cleanliness before you go to bed, or do you just wing it, hop in bed? We'll start with you, Ghost. You have anything unique about this?
to be honest, I feel like this is one of the topics that you bring up, trying to be subtle if you're trying to tell somebody something. But I mean, for me,
literally, I don't think I slept in proximity to any of you guys for a while, so I don't know what you guys smell like when you go to bed.
fair enough. I don't care as long as you doing it on a fairly consistent basis and you're not walking around and killing people. Then yeah, it's if you don't wear it to bed, it's whatever. If you do wear it to bed, it doesn't matter. I'm not
necessarily asking like what you thoughts. I'm asking specifically you. Like, what's your routine? Do you put on deodorant before bed, or do you just I don't know. Do you like put on something else, or do you just not put on anything?
I'd say half and half. Half the time I do, half the time I don't. It doesn't really matter.
Got you. Are you like the other one guy, or if you're like with people or like impressing with people, are you more inclined to like put on a whole routine for bed?
Not that it has any effect on me specifically, because it's not a circumstance I've undergone. It wouldn't be impacted either way.
Gotcha, gotcha. Fair enough, fair enough. What about you, Wes? What's your give us the the short and sweet of your routine before bed?
I put on deodorant after I shower, uh, so I do. However, I do have a tip or a comment about this. Is
Okay,
that
okay, that's fine. That's what we're here for.
after you shower, the enemy of cleanliness, freshness is moisture. So you
Mm,
definitely want to dry off before putting the deodorant on or before putting your clothes on. Try to be as dry as possible before going to bed, before whatever, because that's what really like breeds the bacteria that start to cause funk.
yeah, that's actually a fact. Not to get too intimate, but I remember watching this video and they were explaining like a good portion of the reason. I mean, obviously just in general, but a good portion of the reason why like dudes like crotches and undercarriages will smell is because of, like they didn't properly like get all the moisture off and dry it off. So
Yep.
you are speaking facts on that.
This is news to me.
What?
Jeez.
That's why we're on this podcast. You got learn something new.
Yep.
What about you? Have anything else, Wes?
No, that was it.
Okay. What about you, Ace? You have any interesting before bed stress? Do you put on deodorant? I think you actually probably have one of the more unique deodorant applications, but I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, I use a spray deodorant. It's basically salt water. Um, and I do always use it after a shower because I think the instructions say to.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
Follow the leader. Follow the instructions.
yeah. Um, but yeah, besides that, I don't have any. I don't have any before bed routine. Um, yeah, I don't have anything I do weird besides that. Besides use a spray deodorant.
Would you since that is a bit more unique? Actually, I mean, yeah, I think that's safe to say. Do you think? I'm assuming once upon a time you did use deodorant sticks.
Yeah.
Um, would you say that going through that change made you realize anything about your body or what people might actually be beneficial for their for for their bodies or scent or anything like that?
Um, no. The the deodorant doesn't have a smell that the spray deodorant I use, and so it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what you smell like, but I don't think I smell like anything now when I use it. And yeah, like that's the only difference is when you use a stick deodorant. Usually they come with a scent, and you'll smell like that.
Fair enough,
So
fair enough. I guess I asked to like, pardon me, like get to the point of like, is that something like that you like recommend or have recommended to people? And do you not ever feel compelled to want a fragrance on you?
um, so I don't know if I've recommended it. I don't think I ever have. And to be honest, it's been so long I don't even know why I switched over to it.
Jesus,
But now I'm not gonna switch back.
just because.
And yeah, pretty much. I mean, I kind of like it. Like it's a different feel from rubbing a stick under your armpits. Like I don't know.
Literally, it's a different feel, a different sensation. Yes.
That I've gotten used to, and yeah, if I do want to have a scent, um then I would use cologne.
Got you, got you. Has anyone a cologne on before bed person here? That's definitely a thing for some guys.
I
You got
have.
That
money
seems
for
like a
that.
waste of cologne.
I have, but
That's
it's
expensive.
definitely not a thing. It's
All
just
right.
on
I
a whim.
guess I guess I'll be the only one that's being honest here. Yes, I definitely put on a minor amount of cologne before bed.
Cologne?
It does. I
Yes.
mean, there. You know what? The person who said
Yeah.
they sleep better or whatever. There is something to it, to be honest. Like when you,
The crazy part, I don't even know if I can co-sign that. I just know that I really like the cologne I use, and when I get out the shower, I typically it's kind of just routine things, a routine at this point. But yeah, I like the cologne
yeah,
I use.
because if you were gonna shower before leaving the house, you do it. So it's just kind of, I get it,
Exactly.
ties in. But but yeah, I know there's something to be said about a good fresh smell before you go to bed.
And to the other brother's point, if I was sleeping like with a person or next to a person, I'm absolutely like
Yeah.
yeah, 1,000%. Are you crazy? They're gonna think that I smell like that just naturally in my bed. Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
but I digress. Obviously, it's nothing to deep dive too much on. Obviously, I think kind of into what you were saying before, Ghost. Like, I think the moral story is people just not smell. We don't necessarily have to get into the weeds of like. Actually, I mean, there is something to be said about like your like biological. If there's anything in balance, you might want to check that out. And I also think people, if they have the capacity to try out different methodologies, because obviously we do know that some deodorants are more harmful than others, and some deodorants don't work as effectively on some people as they do on other people. So it's always try different things. Maybe try freaking salt water or whatever it is to be trying.
I feel like sometimes too, just switching it up can be good. 'Cause sometimes something will work great for years, and then you'll notice that it's less effective.
Oh no, that's definitely another strat that I recommend. Like I would damn near recommend that everyone have like um 2 to 3 deodorants that they use. Because I do think that, and I probably should get some. Actually, I probably like look into this, but I do think your body can like adjust to a specific type of deodorant, and it'll get less effective over time period. But that may just be a conspiracy theory that I have. But yeah, I don't think there's too much to break down on this. So if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.
Gotcha.
Okay. I think there's actually 2 stories related to this, but I think we can take it one at a time. So, at Hollywood Unlocked with Jason Lee. Let's see what they're saying. Parents sue Epic Games for making children addicted to Fortnite. Yes, you heard it here. So, in Canada, 3 parents have filed. I'm assuming they mean 3 separate parents have filed a class action lawsuit against Epic Games for making Fortnite too addictive to their children. The lawsuit filed in Quebec Superior Court alleging that Epic Games purposely designed the game. I'm sorry, but just reading this is some like really parent shit. Sorry. Alleging that Epic Games purposely designed the game to be highly addictive for children. One parent claimed that their child has played 7,700 hours in less than 2 years, while another claimed their child had played 7,000 hours and became enraged when his parent locked the computer. Justin Sylvan Lusser ruled that the lawsuit was not manifestly ill-founded, comparing video game addiction to tobacco addiction. Tobacco's harmful effects were not recognized or admitted overnight, the judge stated. It was also decided that anyone who developed a video game addiction and experienced symptoms of addiction as a result of playing Fortnite could join the class action lawsuit. Since the lawsuit was filed, over 200 people have come forward about their addiction to Fortnite. Epic Games said in a statement to ABC News that the game has parental controls for parents who want to monitor. I don't know why that went. I don't know why that just want to say monitor, but they're children's activity. So, we all know Fortnite here, right? Fortnite, one of the most popular games ever invented, ever. Like
Yep.
I think literally it probably is more popular than freaking Donkey Kong, original Donkey Kong. But yeah, this is kind of like I think that I feel as if this has been applied to like just multiple forms of like content media over like the years. Like, I think this is like always gonna be like a recurring thing. Like parents just don't get kids playing video games. But at the same time, there is something to be said about being very like attached to video games. So I guess I don't know. We'll get into like every asset of every ins and outs of this facet of this type of topic, but I guess we'll just start the conversation. Um, yeah, what do we think of this? Do we believe there's any level of onus on these companies when it comes to the addictiveness or how people interact with their game? Let's start with you, Ghost. What do you think?
There may perhaps eventually be some type of link to video games and addiction found. Eventually, maybe. It's ridiculous to put the blame on Epic Games or a game company for a game being addictive because it's the parent has all the control in the world to restrict the child from using the game. And if they aren't capable of doing that, then that's on them.
Does a parent have all the control in the world to prevent their children from being addicted to from weed or drugs?
Like they said, they have parental controls. And I'm assuming this is talking about younger children. You could literally take away their video game system and call it a day.
I mean, you can literally take alcohol away from an alcoholic. Do you think the addiction goes away?
Again, that's talking about children versus adults.
So you think addiction works vastly different from a child to an adult?
No, you have to build up the addiction in the first place, but it's difficult to do that when you don't have the means to become addicted at all. So with a child, you can restrict them to using it for a certain amount of time a day to where they don't get addicted.
Do,
Where for an adult, that's not an option.
do you think that there's a set or finite amount of time that it takes for addiction to take place?
Um, I mean, I'm sure there is, but it varies from person to person.
So what
Again,
level? So what level of parental control does one place on your standard child for them to not be addicted?
it depends on the child. Some kids will play a game for a half hour and be done with it. Some kids will play a game obsessively for hours on end until the early morning. It's just a
So that's like
person.
obviously obvious. I guess what I'm getting at with that is, would you say that say you had a child, would you inherently put on some level of parental control, and what would that parental control look like, or would you wait till you see signs of there's an issue budding before you assign that, okay, I don't want my kid to start to get too attached to this thing. Let me make sure it's balanced.
I would start out with some level of restriction because I know kids and I more so know myself. And when I was a kid, I was one of the kids that would have been playing it for I'm supposed to be going to sleep for school in the morning. I'm still up at 4 in the morning on the Game Boy. So I would make sure that they don't have any means
Probably some
to
people listening be like, a Game Boy, what? You mean a PS5? But I gotta stay serious, and I gotta be the gaming devil's advocate. Sorry. Okay, so if you acknowledge that you put on some parental control in the beginning, what would that look like?
um I mean there'd be some level of hourly limit during the day. I wouldn't really be too particular about that. Probably like what? It really depends on the age group, but I'd say maybe 4 to 6 hours a limit, and then at
Per
night
day?
Dang.
maybe, yeah, and then at night it's hard limit of no TV in the room until they get to an age where they can show responsibility. No gaming system in the room. Because again, I know myself, and I know
Dang. Ghost about to be like a dad.
I don't think that's really that strict at all, to be honest.
4 to 6 hours is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, before we even get into that, I think the average kid has a PS5, a freaking Netflix account set up that's playing things at all times of day. I think the average kid experience these days is drastically different from us. Our experience when we were a kid. Yeah. Okay. I'm locking so far. I don't know if I should interject already, but I think you guys can probably understand that. I think we'll probably largely share the similar opinion, and even me looking at this thing, like when they say Epic Games purposely designed the game to be highly addictive for children, opposed to what? Like,
They're
like
designing a game.
like it's kind of hard to be on the side of the parents with this one, but we must look at all the ins and outs of this. So, what do you think, Wes? Do you think this is solely a parents issue, or do you think these gaming companies, in some way or some shape or form, should be held responsible for the fact that kids are becoming addictive?
I think it's on the parents to control how much the kid plays the game. I don't really. Yeah, I don't think the game company can really be blamed much, if at all. It's the nature of a video game. All video games want to be the only video game your kid is playing at all hours. So I don't understand how they're particularly culpable. And as Ghost was saying, when you're a kid, your parent has control over your time in a way that an adult doesn't have. And so if an addiction is developing in your kid and you don't notice it and you don't take appropriate actions, I don't really think you can really blame people that much.
Okay. But in that, you acknowledge that it may be something that is developing, and you might not always know the clear cut threshold of like when it's like, a problem or when it's like becoming a problem, right?
You have to know your kid. You have to pay attention. That's on you.
We can say this, but I mean, I think to a certain degree, unless you are well versed or your profession is in like psychology, I don't think the average parent is gonna know all the innate signs that could indicate addiction. Because I think, kind of to what Ghost was saying, like most kids are gonna want to play video games to some degree, but that's just kind of a natural want. How do you know when it's How do you know when it's like a literal getting to a point of addiction, which we understand the gravity of addiction here?
You will learn. You as a parent, if it gets to a point where you're uncomfortable or where their time is being taken up disproportionately, where they're not paying attention to their schoolwork, they're not doing their schoolwork, they're not doing the things that their obligations in the house.
When did you say those are like the negative consequences of addiction? Like what I'm posing is like how do you know when because you're saying if you're comfortable or not, or you're uncomfortable, do you think that all addicts show signs of this is a problem?
Yes. I don't understand.
The answer is no. Somebody could be showing
Somebody
signs,
can be addicted.
showing signs that they're addicted or they're becoming addicted to something, but they don't. But it's not blatantly obvious. That's why this is very common for people to get caught off guard by the fact that somebody has a problem with something.
My point is, if the kid is functional and you don't have a problem with the way the kid is spending their time, that's a decision that you made. If it gets to be too much, you still have control over what that kid is doing in your house.
The thing is, you might not notice.
I'm just.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Question playing devil's advocate here. When I was young, I was literally playing games for at least like 8 hours a day, sneaking on them, and my parents were not aware because I was slick about it. I wouldn't say I was addicted necessarily, but I was playing a lot of it, and it's easier than you are implying to sneak on and or for kids
That's
to
not
sneak on.
that's not my point though. Like
Well-
the parents that are complaining, right? They're complaining that the kid is spending too many hours, blah blah blah. They're this and that. Okay, first, one of the reasons that you care is because they should be doing something else. They're either gonna be they're gonna be awake. They're gonna be they're gonna have that time. So it's that you want them to fill that time with something else.
The thing is, the reason why they're
So-
complaining is because they see like they finally like woke up and smell the coffee and see that this is a problem. I'm kind of getting to like, because you're saying, because you originally said like you should be able to like tell like if it's becoming a problem. What I'm saying is that might not be a simple thing. So how do we do that? And also, because
My point is-
just try to give an example. Like, say you have a kid that's like really into video games, but they also relatively do well in school, so everything seems like up and up. You know, and they get straight A's, and then you start to know like a small gradual thing. And even if you question them on it, everything seems fine and dandy, and it's not. And especially if you're like a parent that has your own like life to be dealing with, you might not know it because things can be gradual. It could be for a while they're still be able to maintain grades and still able to maintain chores and still be able to maintain it on at first glance like social interactions, but gradually you start to see decline of these things to where you can't even like pinpoint it.
Okay, but that means there's not a problem yet.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point of what we're talking about.
No.
You think the solution is to wait
I'm
till
saying
the problem?
at the point. Okay, you're saying you give me one thing. You got to give me something. Either you can pay attention and be a parent who's diligent enough to notice these things and figure it out, or you can identify that there's issues that are related to something and identify the issue. There's only two options.
I'm not necessarily trying to combat the options, but I guess I'm trying to get more into like the specifics because you're saying a parent just be diligent. So what? Just pay attention. Just watch your child 24/7.
No, know your child and know that the things that are going on. Ask the kid how many hours they're playing. Ask the kid these things. If they're sneaking, fine.
Yes,
If you see, hold on.
Now we're getting to better answers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but yeah, I mean, when I say be a diligent parent and know your child, talk to your child, ask your child these things, watch your child as far as, I'm not saying spy, but figure out what's going on and don't be afraid to do that. Yeah. And if you can't do that or if you don't notice anything, it will show up in other ways. If it doesn't show up in other ways, then it's not technically a problem. If you're asking them to do 10 things in a week and they do all 10 things, but they're also playing a lot of video games, obviously, and it doesn't affect their grades. It doesn't affect.
I don't know if you want to die on this.
Well, what if it's not affecting them in the short term, but long term it could be affecting? Again, I'll use
yeah, you gotta. Give me an example.
I was sneaking on you playing so much games that at night I'll be playing a whole bunch of the day that at night I would sneak downstairs and everyone else is asleep and be playing until like 2-3 in the morning. And I was doing that for like years at one point. And the only reason why it changed is because I got busted. If I didn't get busted, I would have continued to do that until who knows when. And
I mean, you're trying to step past that example, and the moral of the story is like, if something can be, like I don't think it's nothing to say like something's becoming a problem.
Wait, what?
Like you're kind of minimalizing the fact that something is not a full on problem yet, but if somebody's building towards something being a problem, like we're trying to like understand, is there some things that you can do for identify if it's becoming a problem and to stop it before it becomes a problem. Because once it's a problem, you have a problem where the kids are getting enraged when you take something away.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. if you have to deal with that, that's to me that's parenting. I don't know. Like you again, either you're diligent, you monitor, you speak, you figure these things out, or you don't do that and then it manifests itself in other ways and then you deal with it then. That's all I see. I don't see much more. So maybe I'm not providing solutions, but that's the scenario. And I think that in any case, it's on the parents because if it's not Fortnite, it's another game. If it's, I don't know. Unless somebody just wants to say that video games as a whole are bad, or which I mean, it's a fair argument too.
Um, Sorry, I'll respond to somebody. I guess real quick, so I respond to this. Sorry, I'm saying so much. Ace, do you have any thoughts regarding this? I think we kind of going over some of the major points between like both sides.
Yeah, I don't have any new thing to contribute. I don't put the onus on Epic Games because their goal should be to make their game as addictive as possible. As far as the parenting thing, I think parents are pretty screwed in terms of preventing their kids from doing anything. So yeah, good luck.
Wait, what did we just say? Did I just hear you say B1 B Phil? Wait, what? Oh, so what? We don't care about the kids?
Fuck them kids.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
Oh, by the way, 7,700 hours is almost 360 days. So
Seven
that's a
in
year.
2 years.
A
Wait,
year
I
worth.
need to.
How?
I think you guys. If this is shocking, is this shocking to anybody? I think you're just grossly underestimating like how often kids can play games and the fact that these games can be played from the phone and tablets and things of that nature.
That means you slept for 5 hours? I mean, 5 days in a year?
I mean, if it's over the course of
Span of
it's over
2
2 years.
or less than 2 years, actually.
Oh, it says less than 2 years.
But it's
I
essentially
thought
you're
you said
playing at least 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
When you have school and other things going on. So that is insane. No.
The crazy part, that doesn't sound insane to me. I could 1000% imagine a kid putting this many hours.
I mean, I can imagine it.
Go to the next thing, the next article or link, at least, 'cause it's tied into this. I guess we'll see if anyone has any differing opinion. It would almost be better if you kept both of them up, based off if it's a different type of distraction. But we also had a headline that said 40 school districts nationwide are suing TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook for creating a youth mental health crisis. So, like I stated, 40 school districts across the United States have filed a lawsuit against Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok for creating a youth mental health crisis and causing harm to children. Schools nationwide are seeking damages after filing lawsuits against the social media platforms for knowingly causing harm to children with their malicious algorithms, as reported by the Daily Mail. The school districts were located in California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Oklahoma, Utah, Washington, Rhode Island, and Idaho. In response to the lawsuit, social media companies said in a statement that their platforms have parental controls. It seems like they lean on that parental control out available and are fighting against content that promotes eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide. Jeez. So, I guess this is in line, but maybe taking it even a step further in regarding to actual harm. Or mental health harm. Obviously, we acknowledge that addiction is a form of mental health, but they also kind of cite that people can maybe develop just an overall or other forms of mental health when it comes to social media. I guess yeah, I guess it's kind of a similar question. Do we look at social media usage as any different, or when it comes to like video games, or is it really all one box? Parent has to monitor literally everything with their child. What do you think, Ace?
I don't think I look at it as different. Um, I still like. I still find it hard not to put the onus on the parents. Um, I guess. I guess people could try to get put changes in place to legislate these type of things, but I don't even know what you would ask for. Like the goal is to keep people. The goal for these companies is to keep people on the apps. If they put the parental controls in place, yeah, like, what more do you want? Like I don't even know what you ask for. It's
I
hard
guess
to.
I guess we can kind of stick to that point. I guess, and
This is really like I think the crazy part. I think most people would have this type of response unless you're a parent and you have really concern. You have high concerns because your child is already like like being afflicted, well into being afflicted by these companies. But I was gonna say, do we believe that? Because I think one of the things that we're kind of understanding here is that the companies are designing their platform, their game, their whatever, their content to play it, for you to want to play it, for you to play it as long as possible. Do we think that's inherently a problem? That a company could design their, I guess in the context of social media, design their algorithms to be like, okay, you're gonna see something and then you're gonna see something else, you're gonna continue want to be on the platform.
Um. Hmm. I mean, I can sympathize more with games because I like games and I want my games to be entertaining as possible and make me want to play them. Um, with social media, I don't know, like I think everybody here knows I'm not the biggest fan, and that makes me sympathize less, but at the same time I still don't. It's hard for me to see anything inherently wrong with trying to monopolize people's time on the app because that is that's how the companies make money is people using the app. So to maximize profit, they maximize people's time on the app. It's it's tough. And this is like this is from somebody who like I feel I've had issues with using too much certain social media platforms in the past and have had to curb my own time. Um I don't like at no point did I think I should get into it too much.
That would be
I need
wild.
to
If that would be wild. I mean, it probably is sort of like that. If somebody just got addicted to social media and then they realize and then they try to sue a company for that.
yeah, I don't know. It's just not the way I think, I guess, um but yeah, like all everything I'm saying is from the standpoint of me being somebody who has been on on the side of using these things too much, using video or playing video games, using social media too much.
I don't think. I think relative to almost everybody in
I
the
know
world, every social
relatively,
media
yeah,
user, you've
yeah,
never
yeah,
used it too much.
yeah,
But
yeah, relatively, but still, from somebody who believes that who felt there it was becoming an issue. Um, I put the onus on myself, and I would put the onus on the parents. It's harder not it's harder if it's not you controlling what you're doing, like it's you trying to control what your child is doing, but that's what you signed up for as a parent. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think again, it's all gonna kind of fall back to the parent. I guess just on it real quick, going around though. Wes, do you view social media any different from games? Um,
Yeah, and just biased.
oh shoot, wait towards which one?
Uh, I view social media more harshly than I view games.
Because of the different content that a person could be exposed to.
Yeah,
Got
and
you.
and yeah, I mean, I I can rationalize, game companies making games so that you keep playing the games. Gaming, the idea of playing a game or gaming in general is something that's not foreign. It's people play games, and so fun games, good games are kind of addicting. But social media, yeah, I mean, we have been social, and social different enough where intentionally researching and seeking out ways to keep people endlessly scrolling without purpose and without really any gain is pretty. It seems pretty dark to me. And
Dang, you
uh,
said dark.
yeah, and I mean, I watched the documentary that came out a few years ago that Netflix made, and one of the I think one of the points in that video was like, or in that documentary was that like the people who do this, the owners and CEOs of companies or whatever, they don't let their kids use it. So
That's a
at that
fact.
point, like
Yeah,
it's
that's a
like,
good point.
come on, like so you're just what you're doing, what you're throwing out there. Seems a little bit
That would be an argument though for like
sinister.
if the fact again kind of to the onus on parents if even they're conscious of the fact that it's has can have negative impacts to people and especially children. You as a parent should as well. I guess maybe the one case you can make for these situations is like do we fully extend the extent of how appealing or addictive these services can be? Like or is it just kind of like, oh yeah, you can get addicted to games, you can overuse social media too much. Like maybe you can say it doesn't matter, but do you think they could ever put like a disclaimer like before you even log in, like a big red letters or anything that could be like warning, like don't overuse or minimize or something like that? You think that would have any?
Had the cigarette cartons that literally have like a skull of death on them. People still smoke.
Yeah,
I mean,
There's only so much you can do.
I I wonder though. Like you get ads that are pretty intrusive on certain social media, certain places now. If they had something similar where you literally have to sit through 15, 30 seconds of some BS that is definitely not appealing, I wonder if it would cut down on any usage. I feel like as someone who's a little bit averse to ads, whenever a platform starts
we all are.
introducing ads, well, yeah, I mean, as far as like targeting and all that too, I don't really like it. But I feel like some of these platforms taking on more ads and things like that has put me off a little bit and maybe reduced my usage
No,
in
that's a
certain
fact.
ways.
That's a fact. I don't know if there's like hard data on this, but like if you use services like a platform like Twitch, um, and if you use them for a while, one of the things you notice that the amount of
Mm.
ads you get have like dramatically increased. Like it used to be like 1 to 2, like just always standard. But like depending on when you hop into a stream or depending on like the amount of ads the streamer runs, you can get like 8 of them in a row. And it feels as if like you're just watching TV at that point, where like you're gonna get like 3 to 4 minutes of ads. And like I said, I don't know if they have specific data on this, but definitely anecdotally, I've heard from many viewers and even streamers that when if they click on a person's stream, and the ads are running, and they see 1 out of 7 or 1 out of 8, or I could think of up to 1 out of 10, they're not gonna even they're gonna just log off. Like,
Yeah,
nah,
I
I'm done.
might I might hop out. Yeah.
So I guess in a world in which you wanted to create any level of solutions, I guess in theory you could put ads, the lesser two devils or evils or whatever you call
Yeah,
it,
seriously.
because putting ads Like, well, now what are you gonna advertise?
No, I mean that's the thing though. I was just thinking like something as intrusive as an ad would probably work, um, as opposed to something popping up. You're just gonna click through that. Everybody's just gonna click
Like
through.
just mandatory break time, the screen goes black or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it'd have to be pretty
Oh,
intrusive,
you know what I
like the work
hate?
computer thing. I don't know if you ever had that on your work computer. They'll tell you take a break, do some stretches. Da, da, da.
What in the world are you
Yeah,
talking?
I've never seen
Oh, you
that.
never had that? Oh yeah,
Heck
yeah,
no.
But you know what does come to mind, and I hated it as a kid. I don't know if y'all remember this. So I think it was just Nickelodeon specifically, but they had a
Oh.
day of play thing.
Oh, my day of play? Yeah, fuck
where
that.
they would
I hate that.
freaking like all the cartoons and shows would go off, and it would be a block of time.
That
where
was something
where the
best.
TV it literally just go outside, and like you're looking at that like what the hell? Like as a kid, I was like, this is some like dog shit, bro.
I think it came on Saturdays too, and that was the Sabbath, and we couldn't play outside. So we were just forced to. Man, I hated that so much.
That might be an experience that maybe not a lot of people can identify with, but yes.
Yeah, that was the absolute worst.
Yeah, so it sounds like horrible, and if I was a kid, I would absolutely hate that. But I guess again, if we're talking about solutions, we don't. These aren't, we don't even know if these are would be wholly effective. But you could, in theory, put something like that in place where, I guess, something like what you were saying, Wes, or like literally just you can't play it, or you can't interact with it right now. But yeah, but again, like I think one of the moral of the story to the story is like I don't think there's anything. I guess again you could make some policy, but I don't think there's anything inherently that you can put on a company to make their product or service like less addictive or less you want to interact with it. I think that's the sign of a good product when you want to consume it as much as possible.
I've been tossing an idea around in my head, but I don't know how to necessarily implement it or get it across to anybody else. But for me personally, as someone who is interested in a lot of things, it's like I realize like you have a certain amount of time in the day and you spend a certain amount of time consuming, but how much time are you spending actually creating anything, or how much time are you spending, you know, is there any output when your week goes by? And so I think on a personal level, trying to balance input versus output is something. I don't know how best to implement that as a parent or something, but it could be a way to mitigate the time spent consuming and these types of things. But
No, I definitely understand that point. Yeah, no, I definitely think it involves like a level of creativity because when you think about creating, people start to think of like hobbies or artists or things that aren't necessarily tied to like you said consuming content. But I don't think some of these things are inherently like well known. I think it does take like you gotta experience different things to even know like all the different possibilities. But I definitely don't think it's an excuse. I think if you want to do something or if you want to mitigate something like being addicted or having these mental health issues, I think you would definitely seek it out. And I definitely think this is something that, and this is the reason why we had so many topics. I definitely think it's something people should think about before becoming parents. Because I think I'm kind of doing some assuming, but I think when it comes to these parents in these in these schools, they're really not. They don't like they underestimate the level of impact games and social media can have on kids. So now they get to a point where they're seeing like the negative consequences in their kids, and they're like, "What the hell? How did this happen? Who's to blame? We gotta go after companies." In reality, if you did implement some things in the beginning, you could have not had this scenario where your kid's playing a year's worth of video games in a small amount of time. But over here we're just trying to think about all the ins and outs of things and understand every facet of the story and a topic. which I think we did. I think more of the stories you do kind of it's the main responsibility is going to be on parents. There's no if ands or buts about it. But if there's nothing else regarding this, we can move on to the next topic. Ah, yes. Oh, man. So I guess before I even start talking about this story, I actually wanted to bring in one of my own topics, because I was listening to this podcast recently. So I'll give it a small preface. I listened to a podcast recently, and they were talking something to the effect of like, is it, and this might not even like really correlate, so bear with me. They were talking about, is it appropriate to approach or flirt with a woman at the gym? And obviously there were a couple people speaking on it. There were a couple people that were for it, some people that were against it. I think I've come on here I'm on record, and I do have some shots when it comes to like where and when to, if you are going to approach somebody, what's the best way to do it. So basically that's what I was going to come in here and ask. And there was actually one point that was made, or one thing that I thought of after in that conversation, like something to the effect of, and maybe we'll try to squeeze this in either now or at some other point, but like, what do y'all think of the point of like, if and when you're gonna approach somebody, would you say it is good advice to approach a woman, bear with me, like you would approach and meet? So if you've ever like heard like women's stories or their experience when it comes to like people coming up to them, or even people just being flat out weird in their vicinity when they're trying to flirt or be flirtatious, you do hear some of these stories about guys like not knowing how to hold a conversation, or just kind of being weird, not really kind of not understanding like I don't really like to get into body language too much, but I think there is some level of something to that. There's not understanding, not reading the room, for lack of a better term. But it seems like when you're talking to another guy, like you don't really hear about guys you don't really hear too many stories about guys having weird interaction with guys. So I wonder if it could be argued that if guys just approach women like how we approach each other, hey, what's good? It's good. How you? Dang, in the context of the gym, I guess, that's impressive. Like how long you've been working on your delts, or how long you've been, like, do you have any tips for me or anything like that? But it's just like approaching them like in a non-sexual manner. Do what you do. Anyone think that would yield like more productive or positive results? And I guess you can weigh in on that if you want. But it kind of landed. This story came up, and it kind of like in my mind like melded together, because I guess to read the headline. McDonald's ad in India receives backlash over a man flirting with female cashier, and apparently people view it as disgusting beyond words. Just to read a bit of it, fast food giant McDonald's have come under fire in India for advertisement that has been deemed inappropriate and sexist. The ad, which was meant to promote the McSaver meal, shows a man flirting with a female cashier while ordering at McDonald's. Social media users accuse the company of objectifying the women staff, and promoting harassment in the workplace. The ad slogan, date sort of, I'm not sure, maybe we need to actually watch it, which we will in a second.
Date sort of at 179, what's that currency? Rupees?
So they're attaching like, okay, so date, and keep in mind the price of the meal, I suppose. Has particularly riled some people. The backlash has been so severe that people are calling for the ad to be removed from YouTube. It is not the first time that an advertisement in India has been criticized for having misogynistic undertones. So I guess we'll watch it, because
hold on, is the backlash from U.S. people?
I think I think it's global, because everything's global now. Something could
I'm just wondering how Indian people feel about it.
Something could happen in freaking Arizona, and somebody from the freaking south of France could have an opinion on it.
Yeah, it's not quite clear to me how Indian people feel about it, but maybe they think the same. I'm not sure.
Again, I think it's anyone that's seen it on social media has a problem with it across the world. But let's see it for ourselves.
क्योंकि a lot can happen at just rupees 179.
Huh?
What, are we confused? Do we need to watch it? Do we need to watch it again?
Is there a second part?
It's probably the backlash that's like this caused backlash.
Yeah, maybe we can watch it one more time. Is there anything else?
Bro,
I know that was the full ad, but is there anything else? Go over I forget.
this guy, nah, that can't be.
Disgusting and against dignity of labor. Women folk who work in customer service already face such harassment when at
That sounds like an Indian name.
at Sharma MD. Anything else? This is outrageous and disgusting beyond words. You are inviting your customers to hit on your employees, creating potentially unsafe workplace for your female employees, objectifying your female staff for profit by suggesting customers can flirt and find a date here. So I guess that is some of the criticism. That one was from at Akshay at Sethi _ Sethi. I'm not sure if I'm saying this names wrong. If I am, my apologies. But yeah, if scroll back to the ad ace, if you just want some additional context. No, scroll to the ad. Like, mute it or pause it. Yeah. So yeah, the guy walks up, he gets his meal, his McDonald's meal. He finds the cashier somewhat attractive, and while he's eating the meal, they have passing glances at each other or some level of eye contact, and then he wants to approach again. So much so that he could shortcut and go to another person, another cashier, but he just wants to talk to this woman or see them again. So there it is. And their slogan or their the moral of the story for this is you can find a date even in a place where you can get a meal for 179 rupees. Keep in mind, because I think some people might see the price and be like, you can get a whole McDonald's meal for 179. Keep in mind this is rupees. But I digress. Kind of seems like from you guys' responses, you think this isn't one of those cancellations that it's not worth it. But I don't know. Maybe after seeing some of the specific criticism, maybe you see otherwise. What do you think, Ace? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I think like the thing that jumps out at me is it seems innocuous. And I don't have any examples of like commercials from here, but it just feels like something you would see on a daily basis, and it's not something that would have like rang any alarm bells in my mind. At the same time, it's not necessarily to say that these people are wrong, and if ads like these are I don't know, like generally being interpreted to be negative or like have any negative effects or imply any I don't know, like have any negative implications or connotations that people want to start calling the companies out for. I can't fault them. It's just, again, like maybe it's just because we've been conditioned by the ads that we've seen over the years. It seems so innocuous. So I don't know. That's like my.
No, I see what you're saying. And the crazy part is I don't know if it even is a psychoanalysis. I think people should, and I would think they do, generally understand that the purpose of this ad and most ads for a company is to get you to get the product.
Yeah.
They don't really care about like love or you finding a companion or date or anything like that. They want you to go buy this mixed savers meal.
Right. Yeah, that's the purpose. Um, so like what they're doing in the ad is more to make it stick, more to make McDonald's stick in your mind as opposed to promoting that you should try to get a date at McDonald's. So maybe that's part of it too. Like we understand the intention of the ad, so therefore it doesn't seem as harmful. It doesn't the what actually happens doesn't ring any alarm bells because we know what they're trying to promote. It's the burger. Um but yeah, at the same time again, like if people find these things as a problem more and more, I mean, I'm not gonna fault them for calling it out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. How about you, Ghost? Do you look at this ad and see anything fishy? And do you generally think that it's like I guess any level of like negative? They use some pretty bold words and they said misogynistic, but you think there's some issues when it comes to approaching women or women in these type of environments?
I didn't see it. I mean, it seems like the most basic commercial that you can make with this type of subject matter. Um, it's I definitely don't think it's misogynistic at all. But I wouldn't condone approaching a woman while she's working because
Fact.
9% of the time she's not really into you. She's just trying to get a good tip, or she just being nice to everyone. And there are rare exceptions, but if anyone's taking this commercial to heart and is dead set on going to McDonald's to try to pick up women, then I think you missed the point. But as far as it being misogynistic, no, I do not think so at all.
Yeah, when I look at these things, I try to be as like good faith or generous as possible. Like, are we just missing it? Like, could somebody literally interpret like, okay, we're literally like not only providing burgers, but we're like providing like quote unquote attractive women to be approached at when you go to McDonald's, or we're creating an environment where she would do that. But it just seems like oh, okay. So maybe to flip this though, do you think this was the most productive ad that they could have put out to try to send the message of this meal? Because you could argue like, why is there even any like storyline about this guy trying to approach this woman?
Make it stick.
I mean, I think it's kind of irrelevant, but considering all the ads that I see, unfortunately, on a somewhat daily basis that are much stupider and more irrelevant than this, then I guess the whole point of them is to get people talking about McDonald's and to have it in your mind. So for whatever reason, people latched onto this commercial and they're talking about it. So if you look at it from that way, then it kind of is the most productive ad they could have put out. But it's in a vacuum. If this didn't receive any backlash, I think this is a stupid commercial that is pointless. The whole point should be demonstrating why you want to eat this meal, not why you want to try to pick up. I don't even know the point.
So
Bro.
okay, so you kind of agree like that because you would say that this commercial doesn't necessarily demonstrate like the meal don't look too McDonald's in general.
McDonald's is not great, but kind of not the point here.
No, I mean, pretty much these days, any ad that comes out is researched. They know what they're doing. I mean, it's not
Oh, yeah, you're right.
arbitrary.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
really, I mean, there's rarely arbitrary advertising,
Actually,
especially McDonald's.
uh,
You think they didn't put money into figuring out?
while you're
I mean, they
right,
probably did,
do you
but
real quick, you're right because there absolutely is like an advertising budget. Do you think? So would you, if you have that belief, I'm not belief, but in thinking that, acknowledging that, do you think that when these ads come out that do receive backlash or that do like create uproar are intentional? Like kind because for some
It
reason
can't. They,
for some reason you saying that reminds me of like the H&M scenarios of the world where they put out something.
Yeah. No. They can be intentional, but they can also be. They researched psychologically, but not culturally or something. They miss
Got you.
something that causes the backlash. Um, in this situation, I think a point that could contextualize things, or I don't know, a way that this could be problematic that I could see would be like, let's say culturally they had an issue with some people assaulting workers or whatever, some local or cultural issue relative to the location that the ad was running.
Or if there
And
was just like a lot of catcalling, or if there was like a lot of
yeah.
like
And so it would just
invasive
make
behavior.
it right. It would make it a tone deaf thing. But I didn't see that in responses that were given. Uh, aside from that, I think uh, I thought that this was what all ads were like since I stopped watching TV, like regular cable TV. But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I
no.
don't.
And that kind of goes to what I was saying. Like, I think we all if I didn't bring this is for a topic, we just saw this on we're just watching a YouTube video, or just I don't think any of us would look at this and even like, bat an eye. Like, I think it would go in one eye and out the other. Like, we wouldn't even give it too much of attention. But obviously, apparently some people can feel like vastly different. Um, but yeah, so yeah, what do you think, as far as like the actual content of that? Do you think it is kind of like sussy if when you approach a woman in this type of environment, in this type of fashion?
Well, in general, I think I don't know. I think your assessment was pretty good in saying that, like, how would you approach a dude about something you wanted to talk to him about or whatever. Um, I also think though, like, if if you have a part of me feels like if you have to be attracted to the person and you really think that you for whatever reason you have some hope or something that this is a person you need to be talking to. I don't think you should really be limited outside of the limitations of social I don't say social norms or social etiquette. Outside of the limitations of social etiquette. So like
Mm-hmm.
as you said, if you wouldn't talk to a dude in a similar situation, or if you wouldn't approach anyone else in a similar situation, or if there would be some social faux pas about it, then be a little bit more reserved. But if it's a fairly open situation, I would say shoot your shot wherever. Pretty much, you might have more or less success based on where and what it is. But I don't necessarily think that somebody on their job is like super bad. Uh, or misogynistic. I mean, I don't know.
I'm actually like really glad you brought up that point, because what comes to my mind when we have these kind of conversations is I think there's like an imbalanced view, or like what is like generally promoted in society and culture. I think you could view it as we live in a society where, to some degree, we are very big on like, love stories and like shooting your shot, and that being a fairly common part of like socialization. Like, if you're attracted to somebody, you approach them, you greet them, you obviously be polite, um, and but it just shows interest. I think that's. I don't think on like a surface level anyone would argue that's anything but a very human thing to do. Like, see somebody, if you're interested, have an interaction. But in the same vein, maybe it's just the times, or maybe it's the culture. Like you said, maybe there is some underlying thing that we're not fully aware of. But it seems like at the same time there is some level of like societal pushback of that. Well, you actually really shouldn't be bothering people. Like, you really should just, uh, I don't know. Like, stay to yourself. Do you guys see that, or do you think I'm like completely off when that, like, there's kind of this, just dude, there's like,
I mean, and I don't know, the even throwing around the word misogyny, it's like where is the disrespect in being attracted to somebody or wanting to be in contact with them? I don't. As long as you're not being rude or objectifying, or I I really don't see it. I mean, I think a misogynistic response would be to roast her or something because she's working the strange circumstances in which people meet, and
I just, and to be honest, the crazy part is I actually, woman or I guess a person, while they're working, just because while they're working, they're in an environment where they have to be nice to you, so they have to put on, not put on, but they to some extent they have to be a character, in which they can't even express their, their real views towards you or whatever the case may be. So it's just not a good environment for you to romantically or try to approach somebody. But in saying that, I think that doesn't necessarily go into one with the fact that just like humans to their environments in which there are some levels of rules and policies. Like if y'all both work in an environment and you're a superior, no matter how attracted to them you are, you just gotta cool off on that. But I don't think I think just because maybe necessarily I wouldn't recommend it, I don't think I would like if somebody. I mean, I'm sure there's like multiple millions of couples that had that type of interaction in the beginning, and I don't think anyone would, in the right mind, would condemn that couple if they ended up being together. Like I think that was just the circumstances of which they met. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a sliding scale. Like there's probably more optimal times or more like not optimal times to approach somebody, but I don't think there's anything that's like inherently like evil or any of these words
yeah,
that you use for it.
yeah. As I said, it's just avoid social faux pas, and you should be straight in general in all cases. And but the uh the other thing is like the idea of I don't know. I mean, people want to say it's finding a date or finding a partner or whatever. The idea of missing out on that because what you thought it was a bad place or him, but really all you just wanted to say was, "Hey, I find you attractive," but or no, I mean, I don't know, I find you attractive, but whatever. All you wanted to do is introduce yourself and have a little conversation
Yeah.
and possibly exchange contact information. Uh, that's all you want to do. You're not trying to be creepy. You're not trying to be disrespectful. You're not trying to be weird, and you're potentially trying to find somebody who you mesh with and can bring you some amount of happiness in the future or whatever. I don't think you should throw that away because it's at the McDonald's. I don't know.
Do you guys think that this um the response, and we don't know if that's the overwhelming majority, if this is just the loud minority, do you think that could discourage people from um, having these type of social interactions? Again, provided we're assuming that they're very polite and not invasive interactions with each other. What do you think, Wes?
Sorry, run that back.
Do you think like seeing this type of backlash could discourage people from like approaching people or just having like social interactions?
I hope not. I mean, and I hope not, but I'll also who are you know who are inciting the backlash. I I I don't know what do they consider. I guess I should say okay. First, I don't think I can't see a world in which this commercial would make people more likely be to do what he did in the commercial or even to be creepier. I don't see it inciting that. But then on the other hand, the backlash, yeah, I would hope it doesn't. Oh, maybe it would. No, I think it would actually. I think it would make people more weary of approaching women in general.
Hmm.
I think that's fair to say across the board. Um, I've even felt myself a little bit influenced by the way that people react on social media and in this climate of just being super cautious about what you say and how you approach certain things. Um, so I think, uh, yeah, I think it does. I think it does affect people, uh, and make them a little bit more hands off, a little bit more cautious.
Mhm.
Which, in some cases, those people were creeps and needed to be, but in some cases, just like I think it does make people a little bit fearful.
Yeah. What about you, Ghost? Do you think this would discourage somebody from like being more approaching people?
I think it would. Um, like this, like Wes was saying, there's a lot of different. Now that the age of social media and all that, a lot of different uh, videos and things have had backlash and reactions, and people are kind of cautious now, more cautious to avoid being the next Karen or whoever. Like there's a
Mm.
whole meme now of a girl could literally be dying underneath weights, getting strangled because she doesn't have a spot, and no guy would want to go help her out because they're afraid
Oh, that's
of.
facts. By the way, I don't know if that's because social media, but that's me all day. Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, you'll never see me in no TikTok of a woman being like,
No.
this guy was being a creep in the gym.
yeah.
Hey, fam, if
That's
you get
all we
if
guys
you
are trying
get
to
if
report.
you get crushed by those 45 plates, hey, fam, it is what it is.
The other thing, I mean, well, sorry, this might be a tangent, but don't women be the ones more likely to have posted up with their phones and their little tripods and
And
filming their
the
workouts?
in the gym, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like if a dude, imagine if a dude set up his tripod. Like I don't think I've seen that. But maybe they do. I mean, I'm sure they do on occasion, or like people do these videos. But I feel
If
like
the guy does workout videos for like
yeah,
social
yeah,
media,
I guess that it does happen. But I feel like the moment they whip that phone out, they're getting called out.
fair enough. What about you, Ace? Do you think looking at this ad, I'm not looking at the ad, but seeing the backlash, that's like a discouraging thing for as far as like people approaching each other?
Yep, 1000%,
Yeah.
1000%.
Also, one quick question came to my mind, just for this. I don't know about everyone here, but for the sake of like equality, do you think we would even be having this discussion and we would see this type of response if it was the other way around, in which there was a male cashier and then the female consumer walked up to them, or not walked up to them, but like this commercial with the same thing, just the opposite sex?
Yeah, they
I,
would still call it misogynistic.
Well, I don't
wait,
think that
what?
I don't think that can be misogynistic. I think it would be
Yeah,
misandristic.
they would say it's making the woman look desperate or something like that.
Well, shoot.
Oh no, it's okay. So you're saying it would be misogynistic. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
so you're
yeah.
saying in either scenario, the woman would be like being like put in a being put in a bad light.
Yep.
That might be gigabrained. There's no way you can win. Okay. So what they have to do? Like literally put two guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. In
Hey,
India, good luck with that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, that's not in India. Ugh, yeah, that's yikes. Okay, well, yeah, there's definitely a lot of moral stories you could take away from something like this. I think, in general, even I have some specific recommendations about when and where to approach a woman. I think, this is a natural thing. Like, I don't think we should ever try to paint it in a picture of like, we need to like stop, just whole stop like people approaching people. Obviously, I think we should give feedback and recommendations on how to go about it, because I think you could argue there is like there's a good portion of men or people in general that have these kind of creepier, weird approaches, these cold approaches that do make people feel uncomfortable. But again, I think the how to do it should just be changed and not necessarily not doing it at all. Topic. I think that's the last one too, or there's only one more. And we're doing relatively good on time. Relatively. Okay, so to Bishop TD Jakes. A fun fact or interesting fact, I am might be I'm not would ever go to the brother's church or be interested in his sermons, but I've seen some clips and I've seen him in interviews. And I think he is well spoken and genuine on certain topics. So I'm not necessarily against this guy as much as some other Israelites may or may not be. But anyway, Bishop T.D. Jakes goes viral after Father's Day sermon, in which he said, quote, "If another woman tells me how to be a father, I will flat out scream." So I guess we'll have to just watch it, and then maybe I'll read a little of the thing after. Just dive right into it.
Another childless person tells me how to be a father, I'll scream. I know this is gonna get me on TikTok for sure, but here I go. If another woman tells me how to be a father, I will open my mouth and flat out scream. You can no more tell me how to be a father than I can tell you how to birth a baby. I don't know nothing about birthing a baby. I don't know nothing about nursing a child. You have to know what you don't know. Shut up being the teacher and just be the wife. How do you know how to be a father? Not only are you not a father, most of you didn't even have.
Jesus.
First of all. Okay, whoa. Wow.
You ain't have to do all that.
Crazy. I was about to go into a different tangent real quick. I guess I still will. Jesus Christ, I forgot that part. You know what? I thought of when I'm watching this, and again, I'm not here to come on here. It's not in no way, shape, or form slander any particular churches, but it's so crazy how this is like vastly different from like a church, from an Israelite church, and not necessarily not even the way the guy is speaking, but. Do y'all ever remember a time in which we're in the middle of a class or something, and a brother might be like being very passionate and going in, and then people will like start clapping?
No, no, I don't think that.
Cheering.
Hell no.
Is that wrong? I don't even know what I'm thinking about. Is that like wrong or weird? Like I just like it's like it's like Sabbath service is like quiet.
I don't want to hear that shit, bro. Like. It's just all performative. This isn't a movie.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily.
I don't think it makes a difference. Yeah.
I think there could be some like what's the word I'm looking for? Value in like there being some like enthusiasm about like it's like feedback. It's like how do you know when a brother's like in his bag? He's like breaking down scriptures like in a well thought out manner.
I think there might be like a like something like that from a few people, but that might be the most.
Oh my God! Look what you get with us.
I don't want to hear none of that extra stuff. No,
you can't even give a quick like you got it.
No.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, regarding the topic at hand, and I guess I'll read a bit of it now. Oops. Bishop T.D. Jakes is going viral after his Father's Day sermon makes rounds on the internet. During his hour and 18 minutes preaching, Jakes says, "If another woman tells me how to be a father, I will flat out scream," while offering a sermon for Father's Day in which he titled it worth the wait?
It's worth the wait.
Oh, got you. Jakes at one point offers up a disclaimer to others saying, trying to speak on his parenting skills. I didn't know his parenting skills were in question. If he says, if another childless person tells me how to be a father, I'll scream. The audience begins to applaud and roar in laughter. Realizing what he's about to say might end up getting him dragged, he acknowledges, I know this is gonna. He definitely did acknowledge that this is probably a controversial take. This is probably going to get me on TikTok for sure. But here I go. He continues to insist if another woman tells me how to be a father, I will open my mouth, I'll scream. You can no more tell me how to be a father than I can tell you how to birth a baby. I don't know nothing about birthing a baby. I don't know nothing about nursing a child. You have to know what you don't. You have to know. Oh, you have to know what you don't know. That's true. Shut up, being the teacher, and just be the wife. Jay's commentary in-house resulted in more applause and standing ovation from both men and women. Parishioners? How do you say that word?
Parishioners.
Responding to the audience, Jay exclaims, "Not only were you not a father, most of you didn't even have a father, and yet you are an expert on how to be." The crowd interjects, and more applause, louder roaring. Yeah, that's the interesting part about these situations. Like, I think a lot of times when you see these, I damn near want to say performances, but speeches or somebody in front of an audience, doing their thing. The audience is like they're like clapping, giving like saying ovations, but then once the content or the clip gets online, then it's where the backlash comes in. So it's like, are you against? So if you're against what he just said, are you also against the hundreds of people that were clapping at him in the audience? But I digress. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple things to kind of attack here. But I guess the TLDR is he's basically saying that women should what did that one news anchor say to LeBron? Shut up and dribble. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, my question is mainly: is there any level of clash? Or do you mostly agree with his point on somebody that's don't have the facilities to be speaking on how to be another thing? I guess in this case being a father, but I guess you could apply it to other things. Let's start with you, Ghost. What do you think?
I think there's some value in what he's saying, or some validity. There's a lot about being a father that a woman wouldn't understand, and vice versa. There's a lot about being a mother that a father wouldn't understand. It's kind of tough to fully co-sign it, because a lot of shitty fathers will use that as an excuse, like they're abusing the son, abusing the daughter, and be like, "Oh, you should never be fully closed off to criticism or comments about how you're going about doing certain things. That doesn't mean you have to listen to all the outside advice that people are giving, but if your wife is telling you something, you shouldn't just 100% ignore her because she's a woman and she's not the father." So to an extent, I think he has a point, because on the flip side, there are a lot of scenarios where a woman, or I'll say even dudes that aren't fathers, men and women that aren't fathers, they'll have a lot to say about certain parenting technique where they don't. I mean, until you get a kid, you don't get it. So again, I won't give him the full cosign, but to an extent, he does have a point.
So that's definitely a basic. And I one thing you're saying that I thought of before is that so people will kind of espouse this, like, if you're not a parent, you shouldn't you can't really speak to it. But I think and child makes you more equipped to be a parent.
So
And what I mean by that is, we acknowledge that nothing physically, I guess, okay, it's not for women. Disregard that. Nothing inherently mentally changes when a baby is born that has your genes. We acknowledge that.
yeah, I see what if
All
you
right,
don't.
he wants to get in. Give us the quick response, or do you want to hold off until you get to you?
I'll just say the main fundamental difference is that you now have this responsibility over this child. You now have seen this child from its very first moment. and you see the growth of the child, and there is something in that I do believe fundamentally mentally changes the parents, or can and most often does if
I
they're good
mean,
parents.
we get that, but what Quest is saying is like your DNA isn't changing once you become a parent.
The
Like,
knowledge,
I
and
said
understanding,
mentally.
the knowledge and understanding that you have doesn't increase
It's
when just by the child being born.
I'm saying there's a mental transformation.
yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it changes you, but
I'm
again,
saying there isn't.
Yeah, I'm saying there is. So continue. We can
Yeah,
talk
okay.
about it.
well,
later.
that point aside, because I guess that's not really the gist of what I was trying to convey. But I'm not even saying that if you don't have a child, then you can't give advice on being a parent. But it's more so, I guess, if you're talking about your child in particular, that you're raised in a certain way, or and say you're punishing them for they were doing something they weren't supposed to be. They're on punishment for a couple weeks, and someone that isn't involved in the situation is telling you how you should or shouldn't be disciplining them. That's where I think it really comes into play. In that, you're right, Quest, in that nothing. Well, I don't even want to say that. Nothing physically really. Nothing about your biology changes once you become a parent. There is a mental change. I do agree with Wes on that, but there isn't something that automatically kicks in a parenting gene that now
That's
you're
exactly what I'm saying.
100% more adequate at being a parent versus before. There's nothing like that, but through the process of raising the child, you gain the experience, and you have more knowledge of how to handle certain situations, especially if you're an older parent that's already raised children for, where it's completely different than if you're on the outside looking in and you haven't done it before. So that's where I think he has some validity. But again, that's not even saying that if you're a parent of 40 years and someone that doesn't have any kids is mentioning something, that you can't listen, because that's not the case at all. But you got to be kind of selective, and some parents are not good at that. Granted, but it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely agree with your point. Actually, strongly agree with your point to the when you say you do like learn or become a better parent for your child. I think that's definitely true. I think it's not going to be anyone that's better equipped to speak. Provided you're doing the thing a parent should be doing. But there's no one that's going to be better equipped to tell you how to raise your child than you. Yeah, I thought that was.
That's what he's talking about.
No, and the
that's why I'm not fully co-signing
in
it.
the abstract, he's just simply saying if he kind of literally says in some of the other verbiage he used when he said if you're not a father, you can't give me any input on being a father.
That's not what he said. I'll make my point when it comes to me. But go ahead.
Do you think a person listening to this will take away that he's specifically just talking about himself and not in general?
He said to tell me how to be a father.
That doesn't answer my question. Do you think?
That's what I took it to be. But go ahead.
So you think he's doing this entire Father's Day sermon just to speak on his parenting?
No, I mean other people shouldn't tell other people how to be fathers either to their own child.
So it's an in general thing.
Yeah, for everyone's specific child.
But that's not true though.
What do you mean?
That's not okay. So if you
admitted, wait, hold on. You admitted that a normal parent knows their own kid and should be able to.
But if you truly believe it in all cases, then you would agree with this. You would agree that in general, nobody that is not applicable for X can tell somebody that is applicable for, or somebody that's not applicable for Y cannot tell somebody that's not applicable for X.
Maybe.
Okay, so if you do, claim it. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't understand. I don't understand how you put it. But my point is, in every case, if you're speaking to an individual about their child, it's always that person and their child. I don't understand. It's not that person
every
and
case.
somebody else's child.
In every
You're
case.
not. Yeah.
I don't know.
TD Jakes is talking about him and his
I
children.
don't even know.
I really don't agree with that.
You
Wait,
keep,
what?
You keep
I don't.
trying to
Maybe I don't
keep
understand.
trying to focusing on him, but I do not agree or think that like every literal listener listening to this thinks he's going on. I mean, it's just wrong to say he's going on a whole sermon just about people talking about him.
No,
He's
my point.
He's definitely broadening it to be like, hey, if you're
From
not
a man in general.
Yes, you shouldn't tell any individual person how to parent. Or okay, I'm broadening it, but if you don't, you shouldn't be telling any individual other person how to parent their child, especially if you don't have a child, especially if you're not a
okay.
man.
I'm glad you reiterated.
For father.
I'm glad you reiterated that. I think we agree on that point. I think
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I guess. Well, the difference is while we agree that a person thinking that they are better equipped to tell somebody how to raise their own kid is different from having the mentality that unless you are a father already, unless you are a male, that you shouldn't even have any like thoughts towards this. Like you're not even equipped to have any input on that.
So I'll speak now.
Which is arguably the moral of the story of what this sermon.
Yeah. But I will play semantics a little bit and note that he said, "You can't tell me how to be a father," which to me, he's talking about the idea that someone is going to tell him the patterns of fatherhood that he should take as a father. They're going to tell him, you shouldn't do this way, or you shouldn't do that way as a condition for fatherhood, as a condition for how you parent your child. Overall, kind of like a blanket statement. Now, the particulars of a specific instance, let's say, if I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I think if I were to take this and I'm looking at it as if I was going to get something useful out of this, let's say the mother, or if the person without a child said something about a particular instance of something I did that would not, and I could recognize, okay, he's saying I was a little too harsh. Maybe I should consider that, or I should take this information, blah, blah, blah. That's one thing. But if someone is telling someone blankethood, fatherhood is this, you should do this if you're a father, blah, blah, blah. That's where I think the frustration and the BS comes in, because as he said, and as I agree, if you're not a father, or if you're not, if you don't have children, then you can't tell someone how to be a father. Don't you think it would
be the opposite?
What do you mean?
Don't you think that if somebody, like, say you had a child, and somebody saw how you I don't want to use like specific physical things that people probably have good information on, like, people like you were saying, like some of the patterns that you did or some of the habits that you did, they were commenting on those. Don't you think that would be a bit stranger than if you were just having a random conversation with somebody and they say, yeah, fathers should, generally do this time of day, or generally do this. Don't you think the general information that somebody imposes on like a specific group is a bit more, like, not much of an issue compared to somebody specifically telling you how to manage your children?
No, I mean, I'm saying it could still be about you and your children, but they're saying you shouldn't do this with your children ever, or you should do this with your children all the time, type of thing. Like, as a rule, this is fatherhood. This is how you are a father. This is how you should be a father. This is how you should conduct yourself. You should never this. You should never that as a father. Like, defining. I'm saying defining the role.
You're saying only fathers should be able to speak to that.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I think that's the point he's trying to get across. If someone is going to give him information like that, it would best come from a father. I think that's what he's trying to say. And on the flip side, of course, he's saying that, mothers and people without children, there's things that they're not going to know about fatherhood. There's things that they're not going to understand about how to raise a child as a father, being a father. And that's fine. They have, the mothers have their roles, and there's things that a man is not going to know about raising a child as as a mother. So that, I mean, it's not, it's not some ego thing or anything like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be. As I said, I'm looking into this as I would interpret it to get something positive out of it. But but yeah, I think it's just that I think, and as I said, maybe I'm reading it too generously, but
No,
I
no,
think
I
I
kind
think
of
there is
I was
something
kind
to
of
how
pushing
to
back.
be.
I was kind of pushing back, but I mean, I think at the root of it, I think we are here to kind of get our own how we interpret it. So it's nothing to. I'm not trying to be dismissive of that. But at the same time, I don't know if we're fully aligned with everything here, but maybe we'll get there. Come on here, you Ace. What do you think? Do you think these statements do warrant some level of backlash, or do you think he's for the most part pretty much on point? Wait, is Ace there?
Sorry, I muted myself.
Oh,
My bad. I was talking too.
holy shite!
No. Just now. I wasn't trying to talk the whole time.
Oh,
But yeah, I was just gonna say, my immediate thought was agreement with him, but Ghost did make a good point that it's not. I don't 100% agree in that a father, like a father, should be open to listening to the input of others. Um, I guess it could get to the point where it becomes um like it becomes egregious. Um, but like I'm just thinking in terms of a father and a mother. Um, the mother, I think the mother's input is extremely valuable and should definitely be considered in um in a father trying to raise a child. It's just more information for them to um to like account for that they may not have come up with themselves. As far as the final say, I think yeah, the father has the final say as to whether they're going to implement that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think more information can inherently be a bad thing. Again, especially if it's coming from the mother who has the best interest of your child in mind.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely understand frustration if a person or people outside of your household are trying to give you advice. And again, if it's not fathers, if it's not people that have children, um, they just, I mean, just in general, there's no experience. There's no way you can
They
have
don't see
full
the
understanding of
yeah,
his
they don't see the full
experience.
pictures of what you're going through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I
and
can understand getting frustrated.
I guess going back to something like Wes was saying, like I will acknowledge the fact that while this I think in general is meant for a broader purpose, this probably like 99% sure did come from somebody from an experience that he probably had. Like he's probably speaking from his personal experiences about like, all right, well,
You
you're trying to have
incredible son.
yeah, people are trying to weigh in on my situation, the case may be. Although to kind of pick at some of the things he specifically said, do we really equate, you know, fatherhood or being in a certain like authoritative position to a literal like physiological act like how to birth a baby?
No, if you had said being a mother, it would kind of have
Right,
been a better approach.
that's the equal. He's
Yeah,
a I can tell you how to
I
birth
Um,
a
mean,
baby.
in a
I get
certain,
the intent. Like
yeah,
the intent, I think was the same. Maybe it's just the wording. But I mean, he's preaching a sermon. It's probably just like a whatever's at the top of his head. But it
yeah,
would have been better if he had said being a mother. But it is what it is.
yeah. I mean, and I think from the standpoint of having a role, a man having a role, a woman having a role, um, you can take them to be I don't know, maybe not that different, but like yes, we can understand intellectually certain things, but if it's not your position, like it's not your role to play, it's it can stand in stark contrast. I understand the significance of what he's trying to say.
And then
Like
also,
as much as you can, you know, relate to somebody, it's like anything. If you've never been in somebody else's shoes, you can't. I mean, you can't. You can only go so far. You know.
but we also acknowledge like an outside perspective can sometimes be beneficial
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just
and
addressing the point where
help us
what's
see
the
things that we didn't before.
yeah. But I'm addressing the point of how different the two things, as far as being able to relate to childbirth versus being a father. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but
And then I guess kind of in a similar vein of like if you haven't lived it, how can you speak on it? But then what do we think of that last take real quick? How do you know how to be a father? Not only are you not a father, most of you didn't even have.
He was doing
I
pretty
have
good.
nothing to say. I
He
have
just
nothing to
had
say
stop
about that.
at the end. Like he didn't have to add that. That was
Okay, but I mean, going to the
It is what it
overall,
is.
going, Jesus Christ, going on to the overall like theme of all this. I mean, and I don't think anyone here would co-sign the fact that somebody that didn't grow up with a father can't grow up and I was gonna say manifest. They can't put the work in for themselves to be a competent, a great father, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I don't.
No, he's still talking about people that aren't fathers when he said that.
Right.
But
So
honestly, I wouldn't even say that's accurate because if you kind of know what you're missing to an extent, not the full extent, but you have an idea of if you did have a father, then what you would have appreciated.
this is true.
This
You
reminds
can.
me of something, and I can't figure out the analogy, but just I don't know. I'm of the yes. You may have informed opinions. Yes, um you may be right. You may have some wisdom that you've gained over the years, but I see the value in just waiting until you become a father to relate to fathers.
You know what's
Eh,
interesting? Sorry to cut you
yeah,
off. Don't these things contrast? Like if you truly believe that a person that didn't have a father is less equipped to speak on being a father, then how do we become a better father? Like
there's no contradiction.
huh?
Because I said there's no contradiction because you can learn.
Hold on. I don't say there's no contradiction. Again,
All right, go ahead.
you take an example, a guy that didn't have a father growing up, he becomes a father. Are we saying that this guy's well equipped to be a good father?
It depends. I feel like there's factors that are not contradictory that can play into him being a good father, which are who are his influences, who are the father figures or the fathers that he has
Let's
as
say there was
examples.
let's say there was zero father figures.
Okay, then he's got a lot of work to do.
Okay, so we can acknowledge that being literally just being a father by the biological definition or sense of it doesn't inherently hold a lot of weight or
Um,
hold. It's not the contributing factor.
it, so he can either not have any examples, not have any references, and be a bad father or have a rough time of it, or he can seek out those examples, or he can learn by trial and error. But at what point? I mean, at what point does it disadvantage him? Like I don't. He's still him still having a
I mean,
child. Still,
you tell me, what is the disadvantage of not having the father in the first place and then speaking on fatherhood?
what?
You're
If
saying
you've
that,
never seen an example of it,
yeah, you're saying that what is the disadvantage of being a new father and now your level of being equipped to to speak on fatherhood or to be a father. You're right.
Yeah, I'm saying you're still by being a father now, you have to wrestle with things that you didn't have to wrestle with before you were a father. So by its very nature, you have to do something. So
Okay,
good or bad,
fair enough. So okay,
I'm saying it doesn't disadvantage you. That's what I meant to say. There is an advantage because you're now a father. You have to wrestle with these things.
all right, so acknowledge that. So now I'm putting it to the other circumstance. So what is the disadvantage of not having a fatherhood, and why would that guy not having a father in your life? Why would that person be less equipped to be able to speak on fatherhood?
So if you don't have a father and you don't have children, your relationship with fatherhood is basically non-existent.
Yeah, nice. Okay, yeah.
So that makes it kind of hard to then.
Fair
I mean,
enough. The circumstances aren't one to one if you just move the relation. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, obviously it was just Father's Day recently, and obviously, I mean, just throughout human history, this is always going to be. I mean, probably more so now in this day and age of social media, and the fact that these things are broadcasted in front of millions of people are going to have an opinion when it comes to fatherhood and parenthood, or things of that nature. I don't know. It's always interesting when I hear the conversations because while I think in general, I think everyone is of the belief that the person that has experience with that in that field, or that whatever that situation is, should be the one to speak on those things. I I think it's just my scriptural brain of seeing prophets and disciples and so on and so forth, that they didn't have to experience this issue or the sin or the whatever the circumstance to be able to give the correct answer on how you go about it. I think we learn. I think learning about the subject matter can have sometimes equal value to being that thing, that being in that field. Like, okay, so do we truly not view a person that has a person that became a father, a person that had a child, to a person who literally dedicated their a good portion of their life to studying children, how to properly raise children, view not only view different studies, but also do some level of realistic work. Maybe you have younger brothers, or maybe you have younger siblings, or just you do certain things that best prepare yourself to be a father. Do we really view those as not equal?
No, I don't view them as equal. I figured out what it is. Yeah, I mean it is like the theoretical versus the practical. It's like reading a lot about woodworking before and not ever having built anything. Like it's wild to think that you know how it feels to hold the tool in your hand. It's wild to think that you have the relationship with the work that you just don't have.
Y'all all agree with that, Ace and Go? That practical is just far superior than theoretical?
I didn't say superior. I'm just saying different.
Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to pin to. I'm not literally saying, when I talk about equal, I'm not literally trying to say whether they have.
I mean,
That's a weird
yeah,
dichotomy. But go ahead.
it's not.
I mean, we put things better or worse. That's
What makes one better or worse? The actual rearing of a child? Because if that's the case, then the one who actually has the child is more important. I don't know. I don't.
okay. So
What is your metric?
I'm asking, do y'all believe that is the practical always going to be better than the theoretical?
I mean, it depends on what your metric is for saying better or worse.
I don't understand how we even have to back and forth about how you view somebody who would do a better job at the thing.
You're saying okay, so you're saying will the person with the actual child do a better job than the person without the child? But
I'm asking you, do you believe that?
No, I'm saying I'm asking you if that's what you're asking right now because I'm clarifying.
Yes, and without being rude, I don't understand how there was any level of what else would it be.
No, you just kept saying better, but it doesn't make sense because once the person without the child who had all the book smarts has the child and starts to rear the child, then
Kind
they're
of
gonna have the experience. So I don't understand.
yeah,
It kind of nullifies
kind
itself.
of doesn't
Which
hurt.
one? Which one will be better?
That's
In
like
the
it's like asking this question. Like it's like asking if somebody is book smart about raising a child, is it better than somebody who didn't do any research?
yes.
Is not yeah.
That
the way
doesn't make
would've
sense.
phrased
I
the
mean,
question.
probably.
So you agree with what I saying? What I'm saying?
Once you start raising the child, you are a father. I don't understand. So you're
That's like asking if you go to a new job to be an engineer, where the engineering job is going to teach you a lot of stuff that you didn't learn in school, but you're still going to have to learn it regardless. Is it better if it's a new hire that has no prior schooling, or if it's a new hire that does have schooling?
yeah.
It, if the job will entail literally taking what you learn and applying it, then I would argue the person that has the more training or that did more studying in the beginning will do fare better. Yes.
Yes, but what does that have to do with the situation at hand? If you do research before you become a father, yeah, you'll probably be a better father than if you didn't
So
do
we
the research.
agree. Just like the meme.
I
Yeah,
think a
but if
better,
you have a
a better
child, you're still
equivalency would
better than not having a child. I don't no matter what, research or not.
I think the better equivalency would be if there was an unrelated child. There's two guys, one that's done research and has schooling and all that, and a father that doesn't have any of that schooling and research.
Oh, but he already raised kids?
Yeah, but he's already raised kids, and they're both going to it fresh with a child that's like what, I don't know, 5 years old that hasn't met either of them before. Who's gonna do better? I think that.
Yeah, I can't put a clear cut
The thing is, in my mind,
answer on that one.
that hypothetical is in relation to what I'm saying. I think it like, I guess maybe we were.
Yeah,
stuck,
yeah, no,
I guess
unless
we were stuck on who's like where's this child coming from and how long are we talking about the father that had the experience versus the guy that was studying.
yeah, and once you get a child, you're a father. So, but if the first child of the father, are we saying that it was a successful? I mean, the kid's not a menace.
I mean, you guys tell me. Do you value the experience versus the theoretical? I'm not really understanding how we haven't answered the question yet.
I would okay.
Experience
Let's
for
put
me.
it this way: if for whatever reason I had to, God forbid, give up my child, I would give it to a person who already had kids before, and
Okay,
the kid is okay.
Gotcha.
Like,
well,
But wait, do you know anything about how they?
that's what I'm
raise
saying. If
kids
the
before? Or
father had a successful, as long as the kid's not a
this
menace,
could be like the worst father ever.
yeah. I don't think we can do that. I think we have to do.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you just take the most blanket
Yeah.
a guy that has some experience with raising a kid versus a guy that didn't, but he is well versed on children and raising children and how to best support a child. You say okay, you take the guy with the experience. What do you say goes?
If I can't interview either of them or do a check,
No, you can't do any of this caveat shit.
the guy with experience.
Okay, Ace.
I hope that he didn't raise a.
I'll go theoretical.
Okay, okay. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, obviously, no, I don't know if it's obvious, 'cause I don't know if we wholly agree on everything here, but we definitely do agree with the base of like, don't just come in and be telling people how to raise their kids. Nobody wants that or is interested in that. Obviously, if you have some abstract feedback, I guess maybe some of y'all were even saying y'all would be up to receiving feedback when it comes to y'all kids too. But I think there's a way in which you convey your input or your thoughts on certain matters. Because I think even if you are of the belief that somebody with theoretical knowledge or someone that studied a lot or vicariously has some experience, I don't think there's any scenario in life where like somebody's coming in, like again kind of going to that example of like a new engineer coming into a job. If he comes up to an engineer that's been in the field for like 30 years plus,
the OG is not gonna care what what he has to say. For better or for worse, I suppose. And I think that's applicable for different practices, different experiences in life. And even me, playing both sides and in some cases seeing the value in studying and try to being as versed as something as possible. I don't want to minimize how much experience does for a person. Like I would say the difference between being new to not being new to it, being true to it. Like experience is wholly valuable, and I think in most cases it is going to trump the person that thinks they know a lot about the subject matter. But yeah, so to TD Jakes. I got no spoke with their brother. But if there's nothing else, we can move on to the last joint, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Nice. Not anything too contentious. I don't think there's any issues. So I guess is there anything before we're done with topics that anybody wants to get off their heart or get off their chest? Anything that we have to walk back or apologize for, anything of that nature?
For me,
I would ask if anybody passed that we need to give a rest in power to, but I think the only people that passed recently, that ironically nobody cares and more so has been joking about, is those brothers in the submarine. Wasn't one of them a kid or something like that? I think I mentioned,
19-year-old that was
wasn't paying
supposedly
attention.
coerced or something. I don't know the story, but
He went for Father's Day.
oof, oh man,
Dang! Speaking about Father's Day, so was that guy a good father? Maybe I shouldn't be making these jokes. Anyway, yeah. Do we even know for a fact that they're dead? I don't know. Anyway, if they are dead,
they're dead. Rest in peace.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. But if there's nothing else regarding anything like that, then like we always like to do towards the end of this podcast, what are we looking forward to coming up near future, far in the future? You know what they say about having something to look forward to.
Taking the week after this week off of work for the first time since we went to Paris last year. I'm getting a vacation, so
Ninjas in Paris.
The week of the 4th?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice.
Nice. I got a week of vacation coming up as well.
Dang, you're just going on vacation, huh?
Yeah, I ain't going nowhere, but I'm not working, and that's
Maybe you have a lot of time off. I mean, that's kind of coming up quick, but maybe. Remember that trip I was talking about? Maybe that's when we can make that move. Dang, I guess I'll have to talk to you guys after start putting that emotion if that's the plan. Okay, nice. Yeah, for me, I guess the aforementioned trip. Also, even though it's kind of early, which I don't necessarily like the idea that I had a wrestling meet with one of my younger siblings and something. So I guess I don't want to re-ask this, but and I'm actually on record. I think one of y'all will try to fight me on this. I strongly believe I'm going to be a great father. Because I'm not new to this, I'm sure of this. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely super dope when you have a younger sibling, or I guess even more so if you had a whole literal child, and they excel in something that you pushed to. Is that problematic to say push them to? Introduce them to. There you go. Yes. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing during my morning.
Nice. I don't have anything very interesting, so I will just say looking forward to playing more Street Fighter.
Yeah, y'all really didn't get into it, but
Oh my, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I got something to get off my heart, get off my chest.
Yeah, I kind of did that on purpose.
Fuck Gal and fuck Street Fighter. That's all.
Guile.
Yes,
You know what's interesting?
that character in particular.
It's not a
Yeah.
video game podcast, but the tournaments and the players that I've been watching Street Fighter. What's that guy? JP.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god, I
JP
haven't.
looks freaking like I'm watching people play that character, and I'm like, how did they even make this character? Also,
I haven't even played against JP yet, but yeah, I'll probably throw him in there too.
that big woman character. That's a very wild way to describe a character. But y'all know what I'm talking about. All the Street Fighter players out there.
Yeah, the wrestler.
Yeah, they look like unfair. Dawson looks pretty busted in this one, but maybe that's all. Everyone thinks that the first week.
And Dawson's kind of trash.
I say any player that can any character that can teleport. I was ranked them a little higher than they probably should be. Yeah, there are a lot of characters in that game that look good, but so what's the problem? You just stink at it, and that's why you're complaining?
Funny. It's not. I mean, I'm not good at it, but I could get good at it if I wanted to put the work in. But it's just the fact that it's a combination of the fact that there's such a tight window on just executing basic inputs, and not only that, it's like the style I'm interacting constantly. I can both approach and be approached, and I don't. The reason why I hate Guile is because he can literally stand in place, and there's nothing you can do to combat it. You have to stand. You have to stand and do nothing and wait for the Guile player to approach. Which, I mean, yeah, sure. If I was a pro player, then I would know how to get around it. But I'm not putting in hours on hours to lab some combo strings and have to hammy characters. So yeah, fuck him and fuck that game.
Jesus Christ.
I'd probably be on next week or something to play Ace. So
Wait, what? What? Yo, you're wild.
I'm not gonna give up on a game when I'm on a losing streak. I'll win a game and then. It was literally like Owin. I think I lost 30 straight games at the end there, which honestly wasn't even why I was pissed. It was just that character. Yeah,
that's why we have a segment, so you can just get it off, or get it off your chest. Okay, nice. Well, I think this was not a bad stream, if I do say so myself. So, to that end, I thank y'all for coming out here and doing this podcast thing, and we give thanks and appreciation to any and all listeners. And we hope that by listening to our podcast that you might have gained a perspective or learned something new, like the fact that if you're ever at a McDonald's and you see a baddie at the register, you might just want to grab your Big Mac and shut the hell up. Or we hope you just found us entertaining. But if none of that happened, then all we have to say is be warned and be felt. Thank you. So stop recording and then